This is our final lecture on rhythm and meter. As I have been saying, notation should show the meter as much as possible, making it easy for the performer to read the score. For example, we saw how eighth note beaming helps show the difference between 3/4 and 6/8. In 6/8, the eighth notes group by threes. In 3/4, the eighth notes group by twos. The eighth note beaming helps clarify this. The choice of note value also makes a difference. Sometimes it's better to use two eighth notes tied together than a single quarter note. The goal is to make the location of the meter beats as clear as possible. This notation shows the meter beats in 6/8 much better than this does. Beat 1 is here, beat 2 is here. In the bottom version, beat 2 is hidden somewhere in here. A performer may find it easier to sight read the top line than the bottom one, particularly if there's a conductor conducting in 2. Let's look at an example in 4/4. In 4/4, we expect accents every quarter note. We know that accents can be created in a variety of ways, perhaps with a loud note, a long note, a high or low note, a change of direction in a stepwise melody, or even through repeating melodic patterns. These eighth notes fit the 4/4 meter. Accents fall on the first, second, third, or fourth quarter notes, either all of them or just some of them. So these are quarter notes. Ba 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 ba. Let's continue these patterns into a second measure, in which the accents fall in the wrong place, between the quarter notes. Here's the second measure, ba 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 ba. The accents of the meter, 1, 2, 3, 4, are in conflict with the accents of the rhythmic pattern, ba 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 ba. Such a conflict is called syncopation. A rhythm is syncopated when the rhythmic accents happen before the metric accents. An accent created, for example, with a long note, or a loud note, or a change of contour can come early to create syncopation. You hear syncopation all the time in the music that surrounds us, from pop to jazz to hip-hop, on TV and movies, and even commercials. Listen to this bass line. See if you can find the meter beat to tap along with. It's a little bit challenging because of the syncopation. Let me play again while snapping the beat. Here's what that syncopated bass line looks like in notation. You can see how the long notes that fall before the beat create syncopation. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's what the unsyncopated version would have looked like. It would have sounded like this: 2, 3, 4. Such a square rhythm might be nice for a certain kind of music, but it's not really right for a pop or jazz sound. When we were discussing meter, I didn't really discuss the relative strength of metric beats. In 4/4 meter, we know there are 4 quarter note beats, assuming a medium tempo. In any meter, the first beat is accented. We show accents with accent marks such as this one. In 4/4, beat 3 is also a strong beat. In 3/4, beat 1 is the strongest accent. The second beat is weaker, and the last beat of the measure is the weakest. We said that syncopation is when a rhythmic accent comes before the metric accent. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba, 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 ba. Syncopation also happens when an accent falls on a relatively weak meter beat. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Composers use such syncopation all the time. Here are some examples. This is from Mozart's Symphony No. 40, simplified for piano. It's in 3/4 time, so we expect quarter note beats, with the first beat of the measure being the strongest. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here's what it sounds like. Remember that long notes create accents. So here we have a long note that starts on beat 3 of the measure and hangs over to beat 1. As a result, beat 3 is now stronger than beat 1. Here's what it would have sounded like not syncopated, with the accents on beat 1. It's like Mozart wanted the note to come early, off the beat. He wanted it to be syncopated. Here's a 3/4 example by Beethoven that starts out with the rhythmic accents caused by long notes falling on strong metric beats. But right here, the long accented notes start to fall on beat 2 instead of beat 1. The SF stands for sforzando, an Italian word that means forced, and in music means accented relative to the notes that surround it. So Beethoven is creating a rhythmic accent with a long note, and then emphasizing it with the instructions to play the note louder than the other notes. He has shifted the accent from beat 1 to beat 2, creating a sort of syncopated effect. Here's another example by Beethoven. In the first and third measures, Beethoven puts a long note on the and of 1, so 1 and. He also marks it with another sforzando. Here's what it sounds like as written. If it hadn't been syncopated, if the notes had fallen right on the beat, it would have sounded like this, and I'll just play the top part of the right hand. Finally, the way we notate something can change how we experience the syncopation. Consider these two examples in 6/8. They both sound like this. The top version makes the location of the beat in measure 2 unclear. The right hand looks like 3/4, the left hand looks like 6/8. The right hand seems to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Which of course would mean that it was in 3/4. The bottom version, it's clear that both hands are in 6/8 in measure 2. The right hand is obviously syncopated with a long note creating an accent before the next beat. I find it easier to play the bottom version than the top one. Without the syncopation, with the F in the second measure falling right on beat 2, it would have sounded like this. In this lecture, we learned that accents can conflict with the meter, creating syncopation. Syncopation is common in jazz and pop music, but we also saw examples from Mozart and Beethoven. Syncopation occurs when the accent created by the music falls off the beat or falls on a relatively weak beat. To make it as easy as possible for the performer, a composer might choose to write beaming and note values that show the underlying beats, thus emphasizing the syncopation.